Now, the horrors of the continuing famine and war in Somalia are well documented, with thousands of refugees fleeing the worst affected areas in search of food. But Channel 4 News has discovered that far from offering them protection, the Western-backed authorities in Mogadishu are turning a blind eye to a catalogue of rapes and abuse by local militia. The United Nations warns that 4 million Somalis remain in crisis in the country. 6 regions in the south have now been declared famine zones. Almost all of them are governed by the Islamist group Al-Shabaab, which has restricted aid distributions. The British Somalian journalist Jamal Osman has been meeting families who have fled to the camps in Mogadishu. And be warned, some of the details in his report are extremely distressing.
Mogadishu, a city swelling by the day. Somalia's starving continue to flood into the capital in search of food and security. But the overcrowded camps offer little in the way of protection. The youngest are the most at risk. They arrive in the central hospital malnourished and weak. Despite months of appeals, the UN says 750,000 Somalis could die in the next 4 months. The situation is deteriorating fast.
20 to 40 patients come every day with severe malnutrition.
Dr. Shafi'i showed me the kind of patients they are trying to save. Yunus has been here for 6 weeks, but he is still struggling to gain weight.
There is no water support, there is bad hygiene, there is no food for the mother and the child. Now the child is refused anything, so the body comes to die. So we fight against this condition, and inshallah we sought to survive this patient.
As more international aid arrives here, so do the crowds. But this frontline city is no safe haven. Far from home, refugees are vulnerable to a new danger. The Western-backed government is failing to protect them from gunmen who are out of control in the city. The refugees here fled their homes in search of food, and most of them say they haven't been given enough food to feed their families. But more worryingly, they say gunmen are carrying out attacks of rape at night. In this conservative society, rape is not something people talk about openly. But as I walked around the camps, several women told me they had heard neighbors screaming for help at night. Eventually, 2 families came forward and said they wanted to talk on camera. Usman Adan and his family fled 100 miles from his drought-hit village. His hopes of finding food and refuge turned into a nightmare. The family is still traumatized.
We were told by a group of young men we could sleep in their house for the night and we'd be taken to a camp in the morning. We thought we were safe there, but instead they threatened my husband, handcuffed and blindfolded him. Then they started raping me.
It's horrible. It's not in our culture. Someone who came in search of food and this happens to them.
Habiba told me she was too frightened to report the attack in case they came back and killed her husband. Nearby, Amina Mohammed told me she too was raped in her 4th night in the camp. She said 2 men, one of them in a military uniform, woke her by hitting her with a rifle butt. Her husband reported the attack to the camp's manager.
They said, point out the people who did it and we can take action. We hear these stories every day. They said, we don't want to hear them anymore. They say there's a government in Mogadishu. Where is it? We were told it would provide food, shelter and security. We haven't seen any of those.
No one I spoke to thought the violence was orchestrated. Many said that militia loyal to the government simply act with impunity in this lawless city. And as refugees, they are left to fend for themselves.
It's a nightmare, a man raping your wife in front of your own eyes. These men are in their hometown with their families and have power. They have guns. Where I live is far from here, which means I am powerless here.
The government, which is funded by the international community, including Britain, was meant to protect the refugees. But rape victims say the local authorities are doing nothing to keep them safe. For 4 days now, I have been trying to find a government official who could respond to the allegations. I have seen the Deputy Minister for Women, the Interior Minister, and I have contacted the Mogadishu Mayor, but all of them declined to give an interview. But the head of Mogadishu's most notorious camp, Badbado, did agree to meet me. He's only been in the job 2 weeks though.
There may be some cases, but it's exaggerated. There are people who just want to say negative things. Sometimes they haven't seen anything. It's just hearsay.
But an organization documenting rape cases says the number is growing.
It used to be once a while. You will see 2-3 months. 2-3 months, you see 2-5 women saying we got raped. But now it's like when we see 10 this week, and the next week another comes, see 5, 10, 8. To us, it's a lot.
Amina and her husband still struggle to find food for their family in the camps of Mogadishu.
She blames me for bringing her here. It wouldn't have happened if we'd stayed at home, but I took the decision to look for a place to get food and survive. That didn't happen.
Osman and Habiba questioned their decision to leave their famine-hit village in the area controlled by the Islamist Al-Shabaab group.
Al-Shabaab force you to go to the mosque and beat you, but there's no rape there. Aid organizations are banned, so there's great hunger, but there's security.
The rainy season will start here next month. Many are hoping to return home to their villages, but until they can be sure of accessing food there, Mogadishu's unwanted guests will continue to need protection. Jamal Osman, Channel 4 News, Mogadishu.